Hi everyone, welcome to Ethernal Realms and welcome to the month ahead astrology reading. Make sure you check your sun, moon, and rising signs for a comprehensive view of the month. Additionally, I would recommend watching the tarot reading of the month ahead to get a different perspective. While you will know the astrology in advance through this session, I will also send you a reminder when the astrological events are near. All you have to do is subscribe, hit the bell, and you will be notified as the events occur through my community page. I occasionally post behind the scenes, meditation guidance, quizzes, and polls, which you can check out for yourself. And it goes without saying that you will be notified when new videos are out, such as other zodiac readings and pick a card tarot readings as well. If you prefer to cut down the guesswork about your month ahead, you can always connect with me via Etsy to get a personalized week-by-week month ahead tarot reading paired with the general astrology. Enough about me, let's talk about you. So let's talk about the general overview of October. There's quite a lot of aspects going on this month, so let's break it down into what's the most important and then drill down into each of these aspects. So first thing to note is that we have a Libra solar eclipse, which is a time of the new moon at 21 degrees of Libra occurring on the 14th of the month. I've already made a separate video for the eclipses. There are fateful events. There are some major changes that can happen in the Libran part of your charts, and this is a time of major release in order to rebalance or find a level of fairness, justice, and equality within that Libra area of your chart. And next we have another eclipse, but this is a lunar eclipse. It's a time of a full moon and is occurring in Taurus at 5 degrees. This is occurring on the 28th of the month. So this month is full of eclipse energies. Both the new moon and the full moon events are eclipses, so it seems like a major turnaround. There can be certain curveballs, resolutions, and again letting go of certain things in order to find a rebalancing or evaluation, re-evaluation, revisiting of certain beliefs and conditioning and so on, which can help us down the line. This also I cover in my eclipse specific reading. I will just mention how this affects in your house, but there are a lot more details going into this that I talk about in that separate video. I would recommend you check it out for that. All right, now let's talk about the seasons. We have Libra season, and then later on the sun moves into Scorpio, and that brings us to Scorpio season. And Libra season is all about that, again, harmony. It's kind of that transition point, the midpoint, and like the equinoxes happened and we are now moving into the days becoming a little bit shorter, or you're trying to cultivate more peace, harmony, and communication with relationships and so on that come with that season. And with Scorpio season, we talk about purging, releasing, detoxifying ourselves, and also transforming ourselves for the better. Now, when the sun moves into Scorpio, which is on the 23rd of the month, we also have Mars already in Scorpio, and Mars moves into Scorpio on the 12th. So it's going to be quite an interesting one. It's deeper, darker, more mysterious. It has more of that research mindset, and it does not like to rest before finding the true answer. These are the basic themes that are going on. Meanwhile, the Libra season, we will have Mercury and Mars over there till half the month at least, and that itself is going to have this oomph of the activism and detoxing in order to compromise or to sacrifice certain things that are just like that they're not beneficial to growth or harmony anymore. It is more communicative because Mercury is present as well, and it wants to strive even harder than general to strike this sense of balance. Next thing to note is that we have 7 oppositions and 7 trines. And oppositions are all about me and you. They take into account feedbacks, decisions, and balancing. And all of the elements are being involved, so everyone is going to feel this to some level or the other. Then the 7 trines that we have, they are easy to take for granted. That's kind of the trine energy because they bring about automatic blessings and resolutions of things. And this month we generally are looking at water and earth trines. There is one fire trine, but it's mostly the feminine energies that we're talking about. So there is more receptivity that is going to be blessed, or it can be emotional and physical, material topics that are going to be blessed around this time. Now, trines also bring about harmony within anything that is ongoing as a struggle. Okay, now we have some planets changing signs and direction as well. We have Mercury moving into Libra on the 5th. We have Venus moving into Virgo on the 9th. We have Pluto going from retrograde to direct motion in the sign of Capricorn on the 11th. And this is an important date because this is a time that you can experience certain turnarounds and breakthroughs and transformations. So if you've been struggling with a specific fear or an insecurity or a sense of powerlessness, this can be a time where you recognize, oh wait, this is where I hold my power, or this is how I can call back my power, money, or I can transform myself to feel more like myself. And we have Mercury, who later moves into Scorpio on the 22nd. Now let's talk about the North Node. It has been quite activated throughout this month through trines, oppositions, and conjunctions. And the North Node represents where fate is intervening. And of course, we do have the eclipses, which engages that North Node. It's an orb of that. So we can expect some fateful interventions occurring throughout the month, sprinkled here and there. Different parts of the month will activate different zodiacs. We'll get into that in the zodiac specific part, but we can definitely expect some turnarounds. There can be purposeful developments as well, and there can be a desire to work towards purpose, almost exclusively towards purpose, at least in certain pockets of this month. It's important to take risks because the North Node is in the sign of Aries. So doing something that you're generally afraid of doing, that can be quite blessed. The opportunities will come in, and it's more so about rolling with them. For example, someone might need to learn to say no. Meanwhile, certain people may need to learn to say yes, and that's going to be subjective as to what the opportunity is. It'll be based on your personal experience. But yes, there will be this factor of it's scary for me to say yes to certain things, or it's scary for me to say no to certain things. So it's important to go forward with that area because you know that it is going to bring greater balance into your life. And you can know that because the North Node promises this greater fulfillment if we can push past that initial hurdle or that initial fear. Okay, so let's get into the specifics now. Okay, Gemini, so I've already talked about the general overview of the month. If you're curious, you should check it out because it talks about bigger themes. But now we're going to talk a little bit more specifically about the aspects we're covering throughout this month. There's quite a lot to get through. We'll go through this sequentially as opposed to what I did in September, which was more of separate storylines with separate patterns that were occurring. So let's just get started. We have on the 2nd, Mercury in Virgo right opposite Neptune in Pisces, and Neptune is retrograde at this time. And this brings into focus the axis of your 4th house of home, family, ancestry, roots, as well as private self, versus your outside world, external circumstances, who you are out front, how you present yourself to strangers, how strangers see you, your career, occupation as well come under perspective. So there can be a little bit of blurriness going on this day, like your thoughts may not be very clear. Or you might feel a little bit indecisive. Perhaps certain ideas you're getting, you're not convinced with it, right? Or it's just not as inspiring as it could be. So there's a little bit more like calculative approach that can take the reins in this particular aspect, which can neglect the intuition totally. But when something becomes a little bit too realistic or too practical, then the optimism as well dims. So if you're hoping for some optimism around this time, or you're needing some at this time, perhaps this is not the best day. But this is not an energy that is very long term, so it's okay. It'll pass. If you have certain emotions that come up at this time, or you're feeling as though, I don't know where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing, it's okay. Be patient with yourself. It'll go in like a day or two. The next day, we have a favorable day. We have two awesome aspects happening. The first is Mercury in Virgo trining with Pluto in Capricorn, and Pluto is retrograde at this time. Now, Capricorn falls in your 8th house of shared resources, intimate life, your shadows, as well as latent talents, your subconscious mind, and anything connected with therapy. So whatever you discover about your mind and how you operate. And Virgo, like I mentioned earlier, is about that home and family environment. Now, because these two houses are pretty private, they're more internal, you are likely going to feel the benefits inside. Others may not see this occur, but that's okay. We don't always need to show to others, right? So yes, in this one, you're likely to notice certain patterns that come through either your family life or through your early childhood, when you were surrounded by a certain type of people or whatever, right? And you are going to be feeling quite liberated, or at least you have the awareness of what needs to change. Prior to this point, perhaps there were like bouts of, I feel powerless and I feel like I need a transformation, a bit of a change, but I don't know what to change, or I don't know what is holding me back, right? So with this trine here, it becomes more conscious in the mental state. So if you know something, you can do something about it. Now, speaking about doing things, we have another trine this day, Venus and Leo trining with the North Node in Aries. Now, both of them are fire signs, so passion is high with them. There is more action orientedness. They want to externalize things, so it can get quite dynamic here. Now, Aries falls in your 11th house of long-term, visions and aspirations, your hopes, your dreams, your friend network as well. And, where are you generally oriented with regards to your ideals in life, right? And we're talking about Leo as the second influence, and that is your third house. And the third house is about your mindset and your local community, short distance travel, siblings and relatives. I can talk about marketing and advertising, all these like social type of topics that we talk about. And that being connected by a trine indicates you might hear some nice news from your friends, or you might be the one delivering good news to your friends, your network at large. Perhaps you're introducing some new ideas, and it really gets some people excited. Or you find that you have some creative inspiration and ideas coming to you around this time, and you're very passionate about it. You want to follow up with it. There can be a little bit of the scariness of, ooh, this is something I've never tried. It can be, I'm a little bit scared. I don't know if this will work or not, but I'm just going to give it a try because it sounds really exciting. Okay, it's that sort of feeling. Okay, on the 5th, we have Mercury moving into Libra. And in the sign of Virgo, it's quite particular. Mercury is your ruler, so it does matter what it is doing, where is it, and how is it feeling. So in the sign of Virgo, it is squaring your sign, so perhaps it was not the most interesting experience for you, or on the flip side, it was unpleasant, but you got a lot of good stuff out of it. Mercury was retro in this sign as well, so there were perhaps many, rethinking, renovating type of situations going on in that home and family and environment. But now when it moves into that 5th house, which is at a trine angle with you, i.e. it's another air sign, so you guys are friends, Mercury moving there is just going to bring that spark back up. You are likely to connect with other people more effortlessly, making nice conversations, getting along with people. You're also attracting like-minded people. You probably are looking for like-minded people as well. Apart from people, this talks about your relationship with your inner child as well as any children you have. There can be more conversations going on. Perhaps you're going on short trips, going picnic, or small little things that make our lives very beautiful. That's part of this 5th house. You can be discovering certain new hobbies, or if you have left a hobby behind, and you can be picking that back up and you're quite rejuvenated. Perhaps you have a different take on things now, now that you're revisiting. Now, what else? There's also creativity and self-expression in this. So you might have this natural knack for aesthetics, or you are being more noticed and seen for your thoughts and ideas with regards to art, design, and just feng shui. Even like, how do you maintain the balance and flow of your space? If you are already doing something like that, or if you're interested in these things, perhaps you learn something like that. It's interesting, and you want to implement it. Okay, now the same day we have Mars in Libra, which is in the same house, the fifth house we were talking about right now, and that is right opposite the North Node in Aries. So this is about, how much are you doing for yourself, and how much effort do you put into that personal expression and all of that, and are you putting anything out there? Okay, if you want, of course, like if you're not interested in, showcasing your art or poetry or whatever, that's fine. Okay, it's not that you're being forced to. But if you are wanting to, but you're not because of some or the other reason, this is kind of looking at, where do you hold yourself back? Where is that initiation not happening, or that pioneering energy not happening? Because you're a zodiac with many ideas, okay? And you're a social sign as well. Many people get along with you. You get along with many people. You have so many different things that you can be trying. You have this natural, innovative mind to you as well. But sometimes it can be hard to get, everything working together in a cohesive manner, and also, initiating a sort of that, one focus project, right? Now, Libra and Aries, both of them are very focus oriented zodiacs. They have like a purpose in mind, and they want to figure out a way in their own separate ways to make that happen. So when there is this opposition, you might get different perspectives. Let's say your friend tells you, hey, why don't you do this? You already make such gorgeous art. Why don't you just, go to that neighborhood cafe and ask them if they would like put it up for you? If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Either way, you get your work out there, right? And that can be a little bit scary for some people. If you're a failure, if you're a rejection, etc. Like, there are some things that are unknown, and that could be a reason to hold ourselves back. And the same thing can be applicable for, you have a certain hope and dream, and you do certain things for yourself. Are they aligned? Is there a connection? If not, where can there be more balance? On the 9th, we have Venus moving into Virgo. It has stayed in Leo for quite some time, and finally it is out of there and moving into your 4th house. So it's going to be about beautifying your space. Okay, adding some nice touches that bring you a sense of calm, peace, fulfillment, groundedness. Maybe you're making some crafts and you find something handy made, or something that has taken you a while and it's a perfected thing. Things of that nature are part of the Virgo archetype. So Venus appreciates the effort that goes into making something beautiful, something that is natural, authentic, and it's expressive as well. So you could be adding some things like that. It can even be in the form of like efficiency and productivity. Maybe you're purchasing like a nice binder. It's not just about getting stuff done and putting things on paper, but you want to put it well. You want to organize it well. It can be organizing your kitchen as well, right? It goes many different ways, but it's more so about making things pleasant to look at, making sure that the flow around the house is nice, and that the conversations and your relationships within the family are nice as well. Virgo tries to maintain the health of everything, so families, health, and all of that. If they have been struggling with things, there can be some positive feedback coming up, or some nice developments coming through, a healing happening as well. All right, now the same day we have a square between Mars and Libra, with Pluto in Capricorn, and Pluto is retrograde at this time. So Libra is again that 5th house, and Capricorn is your 8th house. So this can again be looking at, okay, I have a lot of talent. Okay, you definitely do. You have a lot of talent, but where is it that you're not able to focus, or have not developed it to assess to a certain level of expertise that you would like to see yourself go towards? Or is it that you have done all of that, you've taken care of everything, it's all perfect, but you don't want to put it out there because you're afraid of certain things, or you doubt your capability, things like that, which are more subconscious in nature. And Capricorn especially rules legacy and your ambition. Okay, so where is it that there is a wounded sense of ambition or success? Okay, that's going to come up here. And with squares, it can feel a little bit frustrating, but it spurs us into action. It makes us feel like, no, this cannot be. Okay. On the 10th, we have an opposition between Venus and Virgo with Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is retrograde. And this again activates that 4th and the 10th house axis. And it's asking, what is your balance between how much effort you put out into the world, into your occupation, versus how much time you spend by yourself, caring for yourself and your loved ones, as well as your private living space. There's going to be needing some type of moderation coming up here. Some of you can even feel a little bit torn because you want to spend time at home, but you have certain responsibilities out there. And this push and pull dynamic is going to encourage you to take another look at the structures that you have in the workspace at this time. Is it perhaps too flexible? If so, then maybe certain new structures need to be made. Is it too rigid? Then maybe certain things need to be loosened up so that you have the, freedom to come home if you want, or to connect with your loved ones more, or just not to be completely tired and gone by the time you get home. Okay. On the 11th, we have Pluto moving direct. I really love this. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because of the Scorpio thing. But Pluto is moving direct, and it's the planet of transformation and also personal epiphanies. So it wants to bring about this subconscious purging that happens. It's a little bit intense, yes, but it is so helpful, especially when it changes direction, because it tells us what exactly are we struggling with. For example, we might be stuck completely. Like, okay, I don't know what I'm afraid of. I don't know what I want. I don't know why this doesn't happen. I just don't know. If you don't know, you can't change. Yes? So Pluto going direct is going to be like, here, this is what needs to change. You're like, oh, right. I see. Right? So it's a very helpful one. It can be quite profound, but at the same time it's so pivotal. It helps you change the direction of your life and not be held back by the same old stuff. Okay. On the 12th, we have Mars moving into Scorpio. Mars rules Scorpio. So that's awesome because it was not really in its best performance mode in Libra. In the sign of Scorpio, it is quite research oriented. It's deeper, darker, magnetic, mysterious. There's this enigmatic quality to it. And it shows a lot of interest when it comes to the esoteric side of things or deeper, intense feelings. So you might find yourself being more expressive about the difficult sides of life that you've experienced, or you're more receptive, or you're more observant of other people in your workspace, in your environment, talking about their own feelings or what they have been through, their own experiences. On the shadow side, Mars in Scorpio can get pretty obsessive. Okay, and once it makes up its mind about something, and by the way, what it makes its mind off about, it's about its feelings. Okay, so if it feels like this is not great, then it's just going to stay with that notion. Okay, so it can get quite rigid over there. So that's something to watch out for, because sometimes it feels much more strong than it actually is. All right, so that's something to just keep in mind. Note what is happening, but tone down the volume. I think that's the best way to put it. Okay, so Scorpio wants to transform, and that's why it brings up certain fears and shadows as well, because ultimately what it is looking for is total, complete liberation. No holding back, no living in fear-based, nothing. In order to transform from a fear-based living, we need to first know what we're afraid of. Yes, but the point is not to stay stuck there. The point is to keep on moving like Mars does. So Mars, with its arrow, you can see that symbol, right? With its arrow, it wants to pierce ahead through the things that you think you can't pass through. And it wants to create a new dynamic. And therefore, creating transformation. In your 6th house, there can be some nice cleansing and purging that's happening with regards to health, be it emotional, mental, physical, whichever you're in need of at this time. It can even be spiritual purging, by the way. Scorpio is pretty connected with that side of life as well. And you might find yourself feeling kind of raw emotions, or you're wanting to express these raw emotions. You might find that, when you're upset, going somewhere and just screaming, or going boxing or something like that, which is a little bit more adventurous, maybe feels a little bit dangerous, that can be a nice release. Please be careful, of course, right? Nobody wants you to get hurt, but you know what I mean. What else? There can be, if you do any research in your in your life, in whichever manner, whichever field you work in and all of that, this can be a time that you're laser focused. Okay, if you want to get something done, you're going to get it done. It's that kind of time. What else? There can be some competition in the workplace though, because you're doing quite well. Okay, you're likely doing quite well, or I mean, you might not know that. You're like, but I'm the same, I'm doing what I do, but somehow you're just being more noticed at this time because of your work, your ethic, your approach, whatever. And it can threaten people a little bit. Scorpio has that intimidating appearance, and that being in that 6th house is a little bit visible to the people around you. The next day though, we have a nice aspect of Mars in Scorpio trining with Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn is retrograde at this time, but this aspect here is bringing about certain resolution. It's also bringing you certain recognition and a connectedness with people with regards to your work and the work that you do for the world, even if it's not connected to a job specifically, just your goals, your ambitions, who you are, how you show up, and all of that, right? So people are finding you more relatable and at the same time deep, and they want to know you more. There's more intrigue to your persona, to your presentation here. With creative things that you deal with, this can be especially a passionate time for you. You're expressing, you might feel like, okay, there's so much coming through, I want to get done so many things. There's just many ideas or many potentials that are coming up at this time. On the 14th, we have a new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Libra. I talk about Libras in its own dedicated video because that itself is a big topic. So I would recommend you watch that. It is linked in the description box. And yes, it will walk you through it because I also discuss what else is happening around it, what other aspects are influencing it. So what kind of eclipse is it, and therefore how will it affect your personal zodiac? All right, now let's talk about this 18th, 19th, 20th, and so on. It's like a whole story that's going on there, okay? So first, on the 18th, the sun is right opposite the North Node, and the sun is in Libra at this time, by the way, and the North Node is in Aries. And the next day, we have Mercury doing the same thing. It's in opposition with North Node. So they have their own separate meetings with fate, with purpose, and, getting their own spiritual guidance from the universe, let's say. And then on the 20th, they have a meeting amongst each other. They're like, okay, so this is what the North Node said. What did it say to you? Okay, cool. Let's combine forces and let's make this happen. Let's create more balance because it's in the sign of Libra. On the 21st, then, they have joined forces, and together they are squaring Pluto in Capricorn. This time, Pluto is direct, okay? So this is going to, again, be the forced action of, I cannot stay powerless anymore. I will not let other people take away my power, ideas. I won't take other people take ownership of things like that, okay? It can even be not necessarily others, but where do you take your own power away? Where is it that your inner child needs certain acceptance, love, care, healing? These types of topics are going to come up. Because it's a square, it can feel a little bit frustrating in the sense that you're wanting to create something, but then you're holding yourself back, and this kind of goes on for a bit. And at some point, you're like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I'm not going to keep doing this to myself anymore. And that sort of resolution creates this very strong willpower that is going to propel you for a while, okay? On the 22nd, we have Mercury moving into Scorpio. So it had a pretty dynamic close in the sign of Libra. Finally, it's out into Scorpio there, and that falls in your 6th house again. So your ideas are now being more noted. They are well thought out, they are well researched and substantiated. The expression you have, perhaps you're writing some raw poetry and, you're just making it hit the spot, okay? You are also going to have a keen insight of other people, what their intentions are, what their wants and desires are, and things like that. So if you're working with like marketing or, anything which requires you to be more social and interactive, this can be a time where people kind of feel like, whoa, how does Gemini know this? I didn't say that. You're like, yeah, but you seem like you would prefer this. Am I wrong? And they're like, no, you're not wrong, right? So it can be uncanny from the other side, but to you, it might come quite natural. The same day, we have a trine between Mercury in Scorpio with Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn is retrograde. So again, this is blessing your career house and your lifestyle as well. There can be certain upgrades coming up which help you move towards your goals and ambitions. And alternatively, it can be that certain mentors and benefactors in your career space are watching your ideas and observing you, and they are kind of giving you more tips on how to get things more efficient or productive or things like that. Same day, we have another trine between Venus and Virgo with Jupiter in Taurus, and Jupiter is retrograde at this time, and Taurus falls in your 12th house. And Virgo falls in your 4th house. So this is again at that private housing, and this talks about your inner thoughts and how that is influenced by your past life, your spiritual self, and how well rested you are. So if you're not resting well, you might feel more moody or disturbed or unorganized in general, and the vice versa applies as well. So there can be this thought process of how can I improve my spiritual life or my inner world so that I'm most effective every day, so that I'm able to carry out all my ideas and bring them into fruition. Both of them are benefics, so this is likely going to come with its own spiritual protection and opportunities. Maybe you won't see them just yet. Okay, some of you might, okay, but maybe even if you don't see it just yet, you're going to see it quite soon. On the 23rd, the zodiac season changes from Libra season to Scorpio season. The sun moves into Scorpio. So again, the focus is being brought into your lifestyle, your health, your routines, diet, your pets as well, if you have any, how you come to service to the world and what your colleagues are like, what your work is like every day, and so on. So there can be some transformation happening if you're not feeling good where you are, if it's a toxic space or something like that, and there's just too much competition for no good reason, then maybe you're looking at what else is out there for me. And I really like that you have so many trines with the career house. So if you're trying to make a shift, it is likely going to be possible, especially around the 24th when we have the sun trine with Saturn. This talks about maybe you're going back to a previous occupation you've had or a previous mentor you had, and they give you a great reference, and you are going ahead, or rather good recommendation. I'm not sure which one you call, but anyway, there is like good feedback coming through about your work ethic, about you and all of that, and you're likely to make good impressions. On the 28th, we have a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Taurus, and again, I talk about that in that eclipse related video. I've also made tarot videos. If you're interested in that, you can definitely check it out. The same day, we have Mars, but by the way, just in short, that first eclipse occurs in your 5th house, right? That affects your inner child, your personal healing, creativity, self-expression, romance, children. And the second one on the 28th, that one is affecting your 12th house of rest, relaxation, introspection, meditation, spirituality. Okay, and when we talk about eclipses, we're talking about fateful changes, big changes. It's not like small little things that happen every day. Okay, now the same day we have an opposition between Mars, who's in Scorpio, with Jupiter, who's in Taurus, and Jupiter is retrograde. So there is this tendency of overdoing it. Okay, maybe you work out a little bit too much. You're like, yeah, I can do it. It's fine. Nothing will happen. But you might like get a little bit of a sprain, or you get extra tired and you need a lot of rest, or you have like really sore the next day and you can't keep it up, something like that. So when you're overdoing it, you don't realize it with this aspect, but in hindsight, you're like, probably a bit much. Okay, same goes with like if you've never organized, if you've never scheduled, then it can be a little bit challenging because you're likely to either underschedule yourself or overdo it somehow, and you won't know it then. Next day you're like, well, I can't do that many tasks a day. I know that now. It's okay to make a little bit mistakes here. It's the best way to learn with this particular aspect. Next day as well, we have another opposition between Mercury and Jupiter. Similar things apply here. Again, overdoing it, but in the sense of over-promising, because Mercury talks about communication, like, yeah, I can do the research in one day, if when it turns out that you might need to do like 2 or 3 days. Okay, same day we have a Mercury and Mars conjunction in the sign of Scorpio, so you're likely to be very, very deep at this time. quite like you need to get to the bottom of things. That is likely going to be the theme here. By the way, Jupiter also rules any, well, not therapy, but like any guides or mentor figures, spiritual guides as well. So, if you're into that stuff and like you work with them, then you might get some valuable guidance around this time to like help you out. And you might get some like signs around this time, and that just intrigues you. And on the 29th, you're like, no, I need to understand that. Like, what was that? Does this happen to people, or is it just me? There might be this digging type of quality there. On the 31st, we have a trine between Venus and Uranus is retrograde at this time, and Uranus is sitting in that 12th house, Venus is in the 4th house, again, the private houses being activated for you. So again, you're looking at how can I improve my internal state of being? How can I feel better, healthier, prosperous, abundant? How can I cultivate more growth in my life? And how can I be well rested? I do deserve a break. How can I manage that? Okay, so with the trine here, there is likely going to be some sort of relief and resolution coming up of ongoing, changes perhaps. And these changes could have come up around like June, July, August even. And, it's more so absorbing those things, making sure that, everything's in the right place and all of that. Let's say you received an epiphany like 2-3 months ago and you're like, whoa, that's great. But then something happened, life went on, and you might have forgotten about it. But on the 31st, it can be Venus coming through and being like, let's integrate that change. Okay, let's understand it fully and let's apply that into our lives. So that's what I have for you. Thank you for being here. I really hope you enjoyed and that the messages help you out throughout the month. Stay tuned for the tarot reading. I will be uploading them soon. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified whenever that's up. And if you enjoyed the reading, please do like and comment your thoughts if you have any. It will be really lovely to hear back from you, and it really helps the channel grow as well. I will see you some other time. Until then, take care. Bye.